Now to Battleground Ontario, where, boy oh boy, you got to read this latest Auditor General's report. The Ontario Auditor General's report shows the province's spending problem worse than expected, of course. The report breaks down everything from childcare to smart meters, which are actually kind of dumb meters as it turns out, to the cost of public-private partnerships, including the controversial Mars bailout. Well, Vic Fideli is his party's finance critic, and of course he's also a PC leadership campaign candidate, and he's at Queen's Park. And Vic, let me guess, you're not impressed with all this spendorama. I read one thing in the AG's report that apparently some doctor billed the province to give a flu shot 18 times to the same person or something like that.
Well, that is correct, David. I think the overarching message here is that there's a lack of transparency. We've seen that in almost everything that this Liberal government has done. For instance, in the Mars bailout, they didn't like the way it was working out, so in 2010 they changed the rules unbeknownst to anybody, and then went in and basically even broke those rules by superseding the 80% lease rate. And so I think that the message really is that what we've seen is a lack of transparency in virtually every project.
The Mars sort of development, and we should let folks outside Toronto know, this is a building downtown Toronto that houses a lot of startups and is used for economic development, owned by the province and costing the province a lot of money. This came up during the election campaign. So let me ask you now, sort of segue into the leadership question is, how as a leader in a campaign, how do you use these things to really beat the Liberals over the head with?
Well, we used Mars back in the June election, and the public just didn't have an appetite for it. It was in the summer, and really they got away with it. And this entire lack of transparency paid off for the Liberals, except for today, when you've got the Auditor General coming out and saying, basically she vindicated every single thing that we said about Mars happened. Every single thing that we've been saying about debt and deficit, she's agreed with. We're spending far too much money. We have a $12.5 billion deficit here in Ontario this year. And she talked about smart meters and said every single thing that we've been saying since 2011 about the energy system in Ontario has come true.
Let me ask you this. You've seen the Conservatives federally start, I think they were really the ones to start a new tradition, which is election advertising in between elections. The famous attacks on Stéphane Dion, Michael Ignatieff, and certainly we've seen them on Liberal leader Justin Trudeau. Would it be useful, do you think, for a progressive Conservative party that you lead to maybe do some political advertising ahead of a writ period, maybe calling voters' attentions to some of these excesses?
Well, where would you even begin with the scandals that we have? I mean, you've got the e-health, the Orange, the gas plant scandal. Now we've got this Mars boondoggle, smart meters, where we saw the most arrogant exchange from a Liberal minister that I have ever seen in my career, where Minister Bob Chiarelli, basically said that the auditor was wrong. Her numbers were wrong by hundreds of millions of dollars. He was asked if he's going to resign. He did. I wouldn't be surprised if he resigned over not so much about bungling the entire energy system, but over his accusations. This is a very smug and arrogant government that we have in power here. And David, we've got 3 more, almost 4 years till the next election. So it's, it would take a tremendous amount of money, but I don't even know which scandal you'd start with these guys.
Let me ask you as well about something that your campaign put out this week, and that is the idea to bring back the Red Tape Commission. I think a lot of people would agree, too much red tape for businesses, large, small, medium, you name it. But there's others who say, listen, isn't this what MPPs are paid to do? Shouldn't these sorts of things be examined by a committee of MPPs to try and figure out how to get red tape? Why do we need another system of bureaucrats to deal with it?
Well, it started back in before 2000 when there was a red tape commission that was put in. One of the first things Dalton McGuinty did when he was elected in 2003 was eliminate the red tape commission. So here's an example of the kinds of things that I'm talking about. If you really want to know what red tape is, I was down in Simcoe recently on my leadership campaign tour, and there's somebody who's involved in potato farming in an industrial capacity, and they said, when you go to wash the potatoes now and wash the soil off the potatoes, you can't just let that water and the soil that you've washed go back into the earth where it came from only hours earlier. You need to treat it as industrial waste now, costing millions of dollars and raising the price of our potatoes in Ontario. That's what I'm talking about when we say red tape. That's a really good example of the kind of thing we're talking about. And really, there are so many thousands, it's actually hundreds of thousands of rules now that we would need a tremendous system to go through these and really start just really pulling the ones that are so ridiculous in Ontario and costing small business and medium and large businesses millions of dollars every year.
Just quickly, Vic, I just want to ask you about some comments that Bob Runciman, the senator and your former caucus colleague, said he's going to back Lisa MacLeod in this race. That's fine. You can back whoever you like. But he says it's time for a woman to lead the party, as if you or Monty or Mr. Brown can't get female voters to vote for you. What do you think of this idea that only women will want to vote for women?
Well, look, I think if you look at my slogan, it's called Ontario First, and it really is all about making all the decisions that we have within our party to help make Ontario first. We should aspire to be first in health, first in education, first in youth employment, first in everything we do. And I don't think it really matters where it comes from or who it comes from. A good idea can come from the right, the left, a man, a woman. It's all about making Ontario first. I had a great chat with Bob Runciman. We were in Brockville together last week. And I'll be frank, he had some very nice things to say about me as well.
All right. Well, Vic Fideli, good luck with the race and good luck wading through all that Auditor General stuff. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David.